Hi everybody, this is my channel Humble Hus. Thank you for being here. I hope you're all well. This week I will show you how to make this scarf. It is a summer scarf. It is very light and the yarn that we will be using is perfect for the summer. Now you of course can pick the colors that you would like. You can make it all in one color or I don't know, pick 5 colors. It can be as wide or as narrow as you want it to be. You can make it as long or as short as you want. So let me show you what the materials are for this scarf. I am using 4 different colors. The yarn is all the same. It is this Nubu 100% lyocell. It's by Lion Brand Yarns. It is a medium 4 weight. And the recommended hook size is a 5.5 millimeter hook. Now, the 2 colors that I can tell you are this buff and the sky color ones, but for the other 2, I unfortunately do not have the little paper anymore, but I know you will find amazing colors. These are the things I always keep on hand, which are my scissors, my measuring tape, stitch markers or paper clips if you don't have any, a yarn needle, and most important thing is your hook. I am going to be downsizing with my hook. I am going to be using a 5 millimeter, but if you want to use the recommended hook size for the yarn, which was a 5.5 millimeter, that is fine. Now the length of your scarf is going to depend on how long you want it around your neck. And if you're making it for a child or for yourself, or if you want to twist it, obviously it's important that it's wider than your head so that you can get it over your head. Like my daughter's, for example, her head measurement, her head circumference is about 20 inches. So her scarf in length is 20 inches. And because this yarn is so stretchy, it will definitely fit over her head. You need to keep in mind that you need to crochet in multiples of 6. So your base chain has to be in multiples of 6. My daughter's size has a total of 78 chains for the base chain in case you want to do the same size. Now for the longer version, let's start with a slip knot. Take your first yarn, or if that's the only one you'll be using, you're going to make a loop. So you're going to take your hook, go through that loop, then grab that loose end and carefully start pulling it into the circle. Put your thumb on it and then grab both ends and pull in opposite directions. Now to adjust it onto your hook, simply pull on the loose end. You don't want it too tight or too loose. Alright, so now, like I said, you need to chain in multiples of 6. To start your first chain, you're going to yarn over, twist, and pull the yarn through the loop that you're holding. That is your first chain. So you always want to hold on right here by the slip knot. Again, yarn over, kind of twist, and pull through that loop. There you have 2 chains. So this will be our base chain. And like I said, you need multiples of 6. So that's 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then I continue counting until I reach the desired length. I have now reached 90 chains. Now mind you, I do them very loose, these chains. So it all depends on how tight or loose you make these. This has a length of about 24 inches. Now, once you have reached the number of chains that you need in multiples of 6, you are going to add 2 more chains to that number. So 1 and 2. These are just for turning. On our way back, we are going to single crochet into the back loop. So if you have your chain like this, right, you would normally go in here to do your single crochets, but it looks a little pulled at the beginning and I don't love it. So if you turn your chain, so like twist it, each chain has this like middle loop right here. I hope you can see that. So do you see this? This middle chain, we're going to go through those chains on our way back. So I consider that round 0 because it's just for my base. Okay, let me show you. So if your hook is right here, you're not going to start into this first stitch. You're going to start over here into the second one. So to do that single crochet, you're going to go through that loop, then yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through both loops. This is a good place to put your stitch marker. If you see, I am going through both of these loops. That was my first single crochet. That way I know where I started. Now I continue to go through this loop right here, insert my hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Into the next one, insert my hook through that middle loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. You're going to continue going into all of those back loops or middle loops. I call them middle because they're kind of, if you look at it as a circle, let me show you. So this is like that little circle, and then they're right here in the middle. As opposed to if you had your chain normal, like your base chain turned normal, you would just go through the top. But you will see that this gives it a much nicer look, especially for that row, that first kind of like base row. I will meet you when you're done with this row. I am now here at my last chain. So yes, you want to go in there as well. Do your last single crochet. There you go. See how it just looks nice and sturdy? That was round 0. The round that I don't count. Let's move on to round number 1. You're going to chain 1. You're going to turn your work. This. Now you have 2 loops. If you look at it from the top, there are 2 loops in each stitch. You need to go through both of those loops. You see that? So, and actually this is that first stitch that we will go and work our first single crochet into. So insert your hook, go through both loops, then yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through both loops. I will put a stitch marker here once again. I will go through both of them, through both of those loops, and just keep it there so I know where I had that first stitch. Let's chain 3 now. 1, 2, and 3. Let me put this down so I can show you. We worked our single crochet in here. We chained 3. Now you're going to skip 2 stitches. So 1 and 2. So once again, you started here with your first single crochet, you chain 3, skip 1, skip 2, and we will work our next stitch in here. This is going to be our 3 treble puff. The way to do that is quite simple. you're going to yarn over your hook twice. So 1 and 2. Remember that you're skipping those 2 stitches. Then you insert your hook, go through those 2 loops, yarn over, pull up a loop. This is what it should look like. There's like 4 loops on your hook. Now yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops. So you have 3 loops now. Yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Now you have 2 loops left on your hook. This is where you yarn over 2 times again, because you're not finishing off that treble, you're just continuing to make another one. So insert your hook into that same stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. Look at all these loops that you have on your hook. So 5, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops. You have 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through the next 2 loops. You're going to have 3 loops on your hook. Once again, yarn over twice, insert into that same stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 loops on your hook. So yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops. You have 5 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through the next 2 loops. You have 4 loops left. Now you're going to join all of these trebles together. So yarn over and pull through all 4 loops. Just like that. Okay, I will show you once again in the next one. So now we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. You will also skip the next 2 stitches. So you just worked in here, you skip 1, you skip 2, and you work in here a single crochet stitch. Work your single crochet in there. Now chain 3 again, 1, 2, and 3. You're going to skip the next 2 stitches. Now we're going to work another 3 treble puff. So here it goes. Yarn over twice, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop. You have 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops. You have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through 2 loops. You have 2 loops on your hook. Now yarn over twice. Okay, now insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop. You're going to have 5 loops on your hook. So yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops. You're left with 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through the next 2 loops. You're left with 3 loops on your hook. Now yarn over twice again. Insert your hook back in that same stitch. Yarn over, pull up a loop. You're going to have 6 loops on your hook. So yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops. You will have 5 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through the next 2 loops. You have 4 loops on your hook, and you have 3 trebles that you started. Now you yarn over and pull through these 4 loops to close that off. So now we chain 3 again, and we skip the next 2 stitches. And then we continue with a single crochet stitch. You will repeat this pattern all the way to the end. I will meet you when you are done with round number 1. I am almost done with this row number 1, and I wanted to show you that if you count it correctly in your base chain, then after this last 3 treble puff, you should have 3 stitches left. So you're going to skip these 2, and then you will do your last single crochet into this one. So if you don't have these 3 left, that means you need to go back and check that your numbers are correct. So maybe you chained 1 extra or something. Oh wait, I forgot to chain the 3. 1, 2, 3, and single crochet. Now for round number 2, we are going to chain 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now turn your work. So right above that treble, you are going to have this stitch right here. Let me show you. Okay, so this is the stitch that you closed off your treble with, your treble puff. And this is where you want to do your first single crochet stitch. Insert your hook and do a single crochet. Now you're going to chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. And as you can see, we have the single crochet that we did in the previous row right in here. You are going to do your 3 treble puff into this space. By now, you should be able to make these 3 treble puffs after that first row. That. Now you chain 3. And once again, you're going to find that stitch right above the treble puff. Sometimes it's hard to see it. You gotta open it up like that. There's that space. So work your next single crochet in there. So we're doing the same as in the previous row, but you're basically, it's offsetting. You're just changing the setting of the puffs. Continue, chain 3, and work your 3 treble puff into this space where you had your previous single crochet stitch. That is the pattern for row number 2. I will meet you at the end of this row. I have arrived at the end of row number 2, and I wanted to show you how to do the ending for that. So I did my last single crochet on top of the 3 treble puff. Now I'm going to chain 3. If you put a stitch marker at the beginning of your row, then that is where you need, that's the stitch you need to work into, which was basically that single crochet. So you need to do a treble into this stitch. So yarn over twice, insert your hook. Let me just make sure that I'm going into that stitch. Now I can take off my stitch marker and simply finish off that treble. Now that is the end of row number 2. Let's continue on to row number 3. This is the last row that I'm going to be doing in this color before I switch to the other color. chain 1, turn your work. The top of this treble that you just made, you need to do a single crochet in there. Now chain 3, we are going to repeat the same pattern. So in here, into this one that was a single crochet from the previous row, you're going to do your 3 treble puff and then chain 3 again, and then you'll do your single crochet on top of this 3 treble puff, and then chain 3 and do once again your 3 treble puff on top of this single crochet, and so on. All you're doing for row number 3 is repeating the same as you did in row number 1. By the way, if you wanted to add a stitch marker here where you did your first single crochet, you can go ahead and do that. There you have it. That way it's just easier to find when you come back around. You're going to do the same thing until you reach the end of this row. And I will meet you at the end and I will show you how to do a color switch. I am now at the end of row number 3, and remember we had those 7 chains in the previous row. I like to do my last single crochet into that 3rd chain, and it is a bit hard to see like which is my 3rd chain. So if you do it into the 3rd or the 4th chain, it's not the end of the world. Remember that crochet is quite forgiving. So as long as you try to keep it consistent in the following rows. Now here's my first chain. There's 1, 2, and here's my 3rd one. That's where I'll do my single crochet to finish off this row. If you want to continue with the same color, then don't worry about it. You'll just continue. But if you're changing colors, because the next 2 rows are not going to have any 3 treble puffs. That's why I like to do that little change. I'm going to take my new yarn and I'm going to do a little slip knot, just like the one I showed you at the beginning before we started the base chains. Now I'm going to put it onto my hook, and I'm going to pass that loop, so that new color, through the loop that is on my hook and pull on that old color so that the new color, that little loop, takes place of that loop that we just had. Now, if you're still using the same color, all you would do is chain 7. And that's what we're going to do now. Chain 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If you notice, I was still kind of holding on to both yarns. Now I'm going to turn my work and I am going to cut off that first color. I am not going to use that color anymore, so therefore I'm cutting it off. Now with this new color that I have for row number 4, so I have the 7 chains, and on top of this 3 treble puff, you are going to do your first single crochet. Now you're going to chain 7 again. You're going to skip all of this and you're going to go into that next 3 treble puff at the top and do a single crochet. So all this space is left. Once again, chain 7, skip all of this and do your single crochet on top of that 3 treble puff. You're going to keep repeating this pattern until the end of the row, and I will meet you when you're done with this. I am almost at the end of row number 4, and I did my last single crochet on top of that 3 treble puff. Now here's my stitch marker. I am going to chain 3 this time, and we want to do a treble into this stitch where the stitch marker is. So yarn over twice, and there you have the end of row number 4. Now chain 1 and turn your work. Let's work 1 single crochet into this same stitch. I am going to add my stitch marker. Now for row number 5, we are going to repeat this, but we have to work into these chains. So we are going to start by chaining 7. Now, it's always, I find it easiest to start counting from this previous single crochet. Okay, so there's your single crochet. So then I count 1, 2, 3, and into this 4th one, that's 4th chain, so from this stitch over here, that is where I will work my next single crochet. Now chain 7 again, and once again I like to find that single crochet, that next single crochet, and then sort of twist the chains so I can see where the loops are. So here's 1, 2, 3, and into this 4th one, so you're going in between there, that is where I will put my single crochet. You will repeat this pattern all the way to the end of row number 5, and I will meet you at the end of it. Like so. I am switching colors now again for row number 6 because we're starting this pattern again. So now I take my next color. I'm also going to do a little slip knot, just like the one I did for the base chain. I am going to pull it through. Sometimes it's a bit hard to hold on to everything. So I am going to pull it through that loop. As you can see, I am still holding everything together. Okay, but now I have this new color. It takes up that old loop. Now chain 7 again. There you go. And by the way, I am going to cut off this light colored yarn. I'm not going to use it until my next color change. After these 7 chains, turn your work. Now again, we need to find this middle part of these previous chains. So from your single crochet, you're going to count again 1, 2, 3, and into the 4th chain, you're going to do a single crochet. This is for row number 6, remember? Yeah, I don't know why, I just like it better counting from like backwards. Now chain 3, And this is where this pattern starts again. You're going to do the 3 treble puff in here into this single crochet. Then you're going to chain 3 again. You're going to find that 4th chain from starting from the next single crochet. So 1, 2, 3, and here into this 4th one, you'll do a single crochet, chain 3, and do your 3 treble puff here again. I hope that makes sense. You are basically repeating row number 2. Okay, so row number 6 is the exact same thing as row number 2, except that obviously it's a little bit harder to find that 4th chain in these spaces, whereas before it's easier to see where you need to insert. You will continue with this row number 6 until you get to the end, and then basically it's just however many rows you want to do. Let me show you an example over here. So I started with 3 rows of the 3 treble puffs. Then I have the 2 rows in between that have no treble puffs. But then my middle color has 4 rows of the 3 treble puffs. Okay, this is just because of the width that I wanted, and I also wanted these rows in between to look exactly the same. Then I have 2 rows again of no treble puffs. And then my last color, I have 3 rows with the 3 treble puffs. You can do whichever way you want it to do. If you don't even have to do these rows in between if you don't like. The ones that don't have treble puffs, you can just continue with the 3 treble puffs. What's important to note is that whenever you finish the even numbered rows, so when you finish row number 2, 4, 6, 8, you will finish with a treble. So like on this side, you finish with trebles. And all the odd numbered rows, you will do your single crochet into that chain of 7, into those 7 chains that you did in the previous row. Does that make sense? Now, if you were to do, I hope this doesn't complicate it even more, but I'm trying to explain it as best as I can. If you only wanted 3 rows of 3 treble puffs in between the rows that don't have any treble puffs, then for example, so let's say you did, with the second color, 1, 2, and 3, and you don't have this 4th one, that means when you start the one that doesn't have treble puffs, you're not going to go into this stitch immediately because you're not going to have a puff right here. You are simply going to chain 7 and do your first single crochet directly into this stitch. Okay, and then you chain 7 again and go into the next stitch. Chain 7 again and go into the next stitch. Okay, so that will change the look of these rows a little bit. I hope you get what I mean. But yes, I mean, this is a pattern that you can mold to whichever way you want. If you don't want the scarf to be as wide, maybe you just want a couple of 3 treble puff rows. It's all doable. I am just showing you the pattern that I did. Next, I will show you how to join the 2 sides. When you have finished your scarf, when you think you're ready to join the 2 ends, pick the color that you want to join the ends with. So I want to join the ends with this light color, and what I did is I put a stitch marker in here so that my stitch wouldn't close. So there's that last stitch that I made. I'm going to put my hook back in here. Okay, now I'm grabbing this light colored yarn, and I'm doing the same with a little slip knot. I'm going to pull it through and have that as my new loop. I am going to chain 1 Now don't worry about the loose ends that you have here, these loose threads. We will take care of those at the very end. Okay. You need to find the corners. First, you want to go into this side, the one that you're on. Okay, you want to just insert your hook wherever you see two loops that sort of looks like a stitch. It's a little bit of a guessing game. Make sure that your scarf is not twisted. So this is going to be first corner, and I know that these are the 7 chains. So once again, I'm going to count. So 1, 2, 3, and this should be that 4th one. Okay, so here was that chain. Now I have it on both sides, and I'm just going to do a single crochet in here. So you want to line them up as best as you can and try to get the stitches to align. So for example, I'm going to go through here, yep, through there. It's a little tricky to see where you need to go. And single crochet. Okay, in there, and in there, and single crochet. So continue that until you get to the end. I hope you can see that. So like I said, just do your best in aligning them. Don't go crazy. If you wanted to, these loose threads, you could work them into your stitches as you're going along. So for example, simply go into the 2 stitches that you need, and then place these over that and simply crochet over them. Once again, just find the next stitch that you're going to work into, and then the one on the other side. Hold these threads along and crochet over them. I will meet you when you're done with these. That's it. I have finished joining the ends, and that was by no means easy. I know how difficult it is when you don't have like the stitches that are equal. So it's hard to know because on one side you have the chains and on the other side you have the trebles. So I did work some of these loose ends into these stitches, as you can see. Now I am going to cut off my yarn. And with the very first yarn that I had, I am going to make, nope, I'm sorry, before we even do that, you are going to chain 1 and pull that through that loop to sort of close it off. Now you're going to take that first yarn that you had, that first color, if you have different colors, and make, I don't know, 2 or 3 knots. All of these that I worked in, I am going to cut them off as low as I can, like so. And basically they get hidden in there. This is where you now take your yarn needle and you're going to thread these in here because you're going to turn it inside out. You won't really be able to see these. Just go back and forth and then back again, back again. I'm going to leave one of these outside on the other end and make again 2 knots or 3. I'm going to cut this off, and I will do the same with the loose ends that I have over here. I am done threading those loose ends in. Now I am going to turn it inside out, and as you can see, you can't even see it. So there you have it. There is your summer scarf. Ah, it's so pretty. It's so soft, and it's just going to let the right amount of air go through, but it will keep you covered around the neck, and it just gives a nice little accent to any wardrobe. It's a very pretty accessory. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for being here. Follow me on Instagram and tag me with your work. I would love to see what you're making as usual. And I will see you next time. This is my channel, Humble Us. Bye.